Blessed Sunday, GCF South Metro, and all our visitors online. We hope that you all are well. Now, since today is Mission Sunday, we want to take this opportunity to share some of our recent updates of our disaster response since November of last year. Now, as I'm sure most of you remember, that we were severely hit by several storms and typhoons last year that caused severe damage to so many communities. And so we truly praise God for the privilege that He has given GCF South Metro through your partnership to be able to extend help again to all these families, to all these different communities. And so I'm just going to run through them just so we can have a visual and overview of everything that we did again since November of last year. And so one of the first things that we did was we sent help, financial support to GCF Legazpi. We did this in partnership with Pastor Rico and again the leadership team of GCF Legazpi, and we praise God because through the support that we were able to send, they were able to distribute 250 relief packs for 250 families. And you know, Pastor Rico, as they were distributing relief, we praise God for his leadership, that he was able to share the gospel to 250 families that were present during that time. And the praise item, really the praise item for this, is that some of those families are now part of their church family. And so we truly praise God for this. And the next opportunity that we had was in Barangay Nahuan, Oriental, Mindoro. And for this effort, we did this in partnership with Calvary Chapel, Tagaytay, and in partnership with Pastor Tony Vic Reyes, for those of you who know him. What we did for this, since the needs were so great, is that we actually combined our resources. And because of this, we were able to give 700 relief packs for 700 families. And the praise item for this is that this disaster response opened the door for long-term church planting efforts in partnership again with Pastor Tony and about 40 local pastors from Oriental. And the collective vision of the team is to plant a church in every barangay, not just in Oriental, Mindoro, but also in Occidental, in all of Mindoro. Next is our help for Landayan Community Fellowship, LCF. As you know, LCF is very dear to us, and we praise God because we did this in partnership with GCF Batangas. They actually sent support specifically for LCF. And through this, we were able to distribute about 100 relief packs, again in Barangay Landayan. And our team, we did this in partnership also with Team BSO, with Pastor Jonar, with Sister Grace and their team. And they were able to share the gospel to about 60 pre-believers in their community. Next is our partnership with PhilRads, with PCEC. We send financial support to assist their efforts to provide relief packs for, again, communities that were affected in Isabela and in Cagayan. But before we move forward, as you'll notice, we do these disaster response efforts in partnership with pastors and churches and organizations who are intentional in sharing the gospel and in planting churches. Now, because our resources are limited, we want to be intentional in how we help communities. Again, we partner with churches, with pastors, with organizations, with a heart for discipleship and a heart for church planting. Next is a door actually opened for us to visit Isabela and Cagayan. Now, I think I shared a little bit about this in the past, but just to refresh our memories, the first community that we helped was in partnership with Pastor Jojo Tuason of Metropolitan Bible Baptist Church of Isabela. And they've been praying for this specific community for quite some time. They've been praying for a church to be planted here. And so because of the typhoon, because of the disaster, it opened the door for our team to go and again to distribute about 100 relief packs for 100 families. And so this was done in partnership with Pastor Jojo of MBBC. Next is, I think this was the one that I shared beginning of this year, was the efforts that we did in Bagao, Cagayan, in partnership with Filipino Missionary Christian Fellowship, with Pastor Benhar Borleo. And through this, we were able to distribute about 30 relief goods for 30 tribal families. They are part of the Kalinga tribe located in Bagao, Cagayan. Now, since most of their crops were destroyed by the storm, by the typhoon, we were also able to purchase corn seeds for 7 tribal farmers to help them in their livelihood, because they basically have to start from scratch. And the praise item, again, as you will be seeing in the pictures, the praise item for this is that, and I've shared about this before in the past, that our team witnessed the whole community come to Christ. And it was Elder June who was baptizing one after another. And the latest update that we have received from our partners, from Pastor Benhar, is that now they are constructing a church in the same place that we went, in the same place that we distributed relief. And so, again, we praise God for those of you who've been praying with us, who have sent support, financial support to help in these efforts. Let's continue to pray that these efforts would bear fruit in disciples being made, in churches being planted. Next is that we actually had another opportunity to visit, again, GCF Legazpi, but now specifically to help their outreach in Baskaran. GCF Baskaran, their church structure was damaged by the storm. And so when we went there, we had the opportunity to actually visit them, see the place, and we purchased materials for the construction, for the rebuilding of GCF Baskaran, and a total of 8 houses that were damaged by the storm. And so all the recipients of our support are members of GCF Baskaran and are under the care of Pastor Alexis Baldon. And I mentioned earlier, go back to GCF Santo Domingo, I mentioned earlier that they were able to give 250 relief packs, right? And that some of those families are actually now attending GCF Santo Domingo. Because of this, GCF Santo Domingo now has a good problem. They don't have enough space for all of their church members are actually growing in number. And so while we were there, we also pledged to support them in buying more chairs, additional chairs for their growing congregation as a result, again, of these disaster response efforts. And so next is that we were also able to support, for those of you who know Pastor Ray Avante, he is currently the General Director of the Conservative Baptist Association of the Philippines. If you're friends with him on Facebook, you know, you probably saw his pictures and his videos about how their home in Provident Village, Marikina, was completely submerged in water. And so you can imagine the damage that was done in their home. And so we sent support for Pastor Ray to help them basically rebuild and start from scratch. So we praise God for that. And so last, we also had the privilege to send support to FEBC Albay, Far East Broadcasting Company Albay. And this was in partnership with Pastor Gid Bruso, is that we sent financial support to FEBC Albay to assist in their ongoing efforts to establish FRRs, or what we call First Radio Response, in communities that have minimal access to basic resources. And also they focus primarily on helping severely affected, those that were severely affected in the most neglected communities. And so FRR stations provide communities access to radio programs, gospel presentations, gospel music, practical advices on health and on finances. And so again, this was a privilege for us to extend help, to extend our ministry through FEBC Albay. And so that's just a brief overview. You know, we don't have time to mention all the other individuals, missionaries, pastors that we were able to help. But in all of these things, we give glory and honor and praise unto God. Again, for those of you who gave financially, who supported us through prayers, we praise God for each of you. Let's continue to pray that the seeds that were planted in all these communities would bear fruit, that disciples of Jesus would emerge, that churches would be planted, and that glory would be lifted unto Him. And so praise God, GCF South Metro, to God be the glory.